There are many professionals with knowledge of 12-step programs. Can we invite them as speakers, even if they are not members of Nar-Anon?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is, to me, this breaks our anonymity completely, other than, we do allow speakers in from NA. And to me, that's a very important part of this program. And there are a lot of people out there with all kinds of knowledge of our program and the 12 steps, but I think if it's not close to your heart, I just don't agree that we should have other people come in and speak. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Yelena. For me, this is tradition number 7. Every group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. For me, when we don't adhere to this tradition, then we are not fully self-supporting. Because for me, outside contributions are not only money, but other resources like speakers who are not Nar-Anon members. For me, this is the fact when we don't adhere to tradition number 7. Thank you for letting me share.
Okay, thank you, everybody. It's an interesting question because, it's got 2 parts to it. There are many professionals with knowledge of 12-step programs. And whether you're professional or non-professional, there's a lot of people that have the knowledge of the 12 steps and our program, many that come into the rooms, right? Having a knowledge of the 12-step program is different than living the 12-step program. And I think anytime somebody is a speaker for us here in Nar-Anon, needs to have more than just a knowledge of the 12-step program. And I think needs to be applying the 12 steps. Those are my thoughts. Because applying the 12 steps, we say working the steps or studying the steps, or, we live by the steps. We have recovery, and recovery is beautiful. It's attractive. If we're caught up in the disease of addiction, and that's ugly. And, anytime somebody gives, the time and energy to the disease of addiction, it's not uplifting, it's not encouraging, it's not strength building, it's not hopeful, it's not encouraging. And so the second half, can we invite them as speakers? And then, the caveat to the whole thing is, even if they are not members of Nar-Anon. So the question is, well, do we invite them even if they're members of Nar-Anon or not members of Nar-Anon? So I think really the intent of this question is to generate a lot of, it's a great question because it generates a lot of how we vet somebody when we do ask them, to be a speaker. And like somebody had mentioned before, our tradition says that we cooperate with NA, and it is wonderful to hear an NA member talk about their recovery, right? Anybody can be a member of NA. They just have to have the desire to not be using. So if we invite somebody from NA and we don't know that they have recovery, they could come in and throw up all over us, And so I think the importance of this question is that the person that is sharing, that is being a speaker in our program, is that they have recovered. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Peg. This one's near and dear to my heart because I've been at meetings where the focus of the meeting is, how do I get my attic clean? And so I can see the attractiveness because when I was new, I wanted to know that. And on page 13.1 of the Guide to Local Service, there's a section on outside agencies. If I may just read this sentence. Outside speakers at Nar-Anon and Nar-Ateen meetings may divert the focus from our recovery, my recovery. I've been to meetings where the focus is, how do I get them clean? And they've invited people who've written books. They've invited speakers that want to talk about a medical procedure or something like that. And that is very attractive to me and my codependents. And thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. This to me is really exactly what somebody had just read from our guide, but also tradition 8, Nar-Anon 12-step work should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. And then on tradition 6, our family groups ought never to endorse, finance, or lend our name. When we ask outside speakers to come in to speak about something, we're endorsing something. So to me, this is like, no. And, if they're not members of Nar-Anon and they're coming in to speak, how are they sharing their experience, strength, and hope? And that's what we share about in Nar-Anon. Thank you for letting me share, Maxine.
Hi, everyone. I was going to read tradition 6. So thanks, Maxine. At the beginning of our 12 traditions, it reads, our group experience suggests that the unity of the Nar-Anon family groups depends on our adherence. And to me, bringing in outside speakers is a threat to unity. Someone may have information that's helpful to members. Members can always access that outside of a meeting if they are so interested, or tell each other about it outside a meeting if they're so interested. But as another person mentioned, our experience is why we have unity. And so the person who is a professional and is not a member, maybe has not dealt directly with addiction, does not have that experience. The other thing I wanted to look at was the word endorse. In the 6th tradition, our family groups ought never to endorse, finance, or lend our name. And if we're endorsing a certain, professional or therapist, that goes against that tradition. Endorse is defined, I looked that up. The first definition was declare one's public approval or support of. And by having someone come as a speaker and identified as a professional, we're endorsing them. So I just wanted to add that. Thanks.
Peg, could you put me after Karen, who's after Leila?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. In fact, I have, hello everybody, thanks. I have a question, in fact, because we've been inviting or attending meetings here in Brazil where, they invite NAAA, Al-Anon to share. And I think this is good. I've been thinking. But my question is, now that we have these online meetings, we have to make an invitation, or we've made invitations. And can we say, sometimes the invited person is a professional. In this case, can we mention his or her name and his profession, like a psychiatrist, or he is a Nar-Anon also? Can we write it on the invitation or not? Can we, a counselor, there are many counselors that are Nar-Anon, and then we invite them. Can we write down the invitation mentioning, oh, we invite Mrs. blah, 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 she's a counselor, a Nar-Anon counselor, or no, an addict counselor. Can I mention it? Am I going on?
Leila, this is Paula. I would direct you to tradition 12, and that says anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all of our traditions. And that keeps everybody on an even keel. And I hear in Nar-Anon all the time, we don't put the spotlight on one member. And if I say what I do for a living or what my degree is, I've just raised myself above the group.
Yeah.
So I stay anonymous. I don't tell people what I do for a living. It's part of my anonymity and keeps everyone on an even keel. Right. And anybody else want to answer, Leila?
Marie?
I like to guide everyone to the GLS page 13-1, speakers from helping professionals. I'm going to read this paragraph. The purpose of Nar-Anon is personal growth through applying the 12 steps and sharing our experience, strength, and hope. It is from Nar-Anon and Nara team members that we hear ideas and experiences that put us on the road to recovery. Outside speakers at Nar-Anon and Nara team meetings may divert the focus from our recovery. Professionals in the field of drug addiction may provide valuable information, but can be heard in other places. Our sixth tradition states, our family groups ought never endorse, finance, or lend our name to any outside enterprise. Lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary spiritual aim. And also in this section, I would suggest that people look on, where is it? I think it's 13-3, where the dilution of a Nar-Anon program. I'm not going to read that, but please take a look at that because it talks about outside therapy, professionals conducting family therapy groups. And I want to say, as far as a Nar-Anon member, it does not matter what letters you have behind your name. You might work in a professional field, but when you're in a Nar-Anon meeting, you're sharing your experience, strength, and hope, not your professional opinion. And one of the reasons we don't say what our professional is because if I said to somebody in the meeting that I was a counselor, people might want to come up to me and ask me and want my opinion as a counselor. I'm not there. I'm not in a meeting. That's not my profession, but that's a point because I have been in meetings where people did say what their profession was and people started asking them questions. It's about sharing our experience, strength, and hope in our interactions with addiction in our lives, not in my professional life. Thanks for letting me share that.
Hi, thank you. My name's Karen. I would just like to agree with what everything has been said so far. My personal view is also tradition 10, that we have no opinion on outside issues. Why would somebody be coming to talk to us if they weren't a member of Nar-Anon? I don't really understand why we'd have outside speakers, even if they had knowledge of the 12 steps. But maybe that's just our group in the UK that I attend don't have outside speakers, and we wouldn't have a professional come in, I don't think, for that reason. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say, but I totally agree with everything that's been said. Thank you.
Lois, go ahead.
Thank you. One thing I've noticed, all the answers so far, and I agree with a lot of what has been said. If you notice, there's more than one tradition that has been mentioned. And it has been my experience anyway, that if you notice a violation of one tradition, it repeats in every one of the other traditions because they're all related, and whether it's anonymity speaking in every one of the other traditions or what, it's very much a warning sign. If you see a violation of one tradition, there will usually be other traditions that are violated because of whatever that action is. So just wanted to share that. Thanks.
I'm Chantel. I'm in Nevada now and came from California. I've been here about 4 years. And in the Las Vegas Valley, there's a really excellent program through the court system for addicts and their families. And they're extremely supportive of Nar-Anon. In fact, they, for the addict to get into the program, the family members, spouse or parents or whatever, are required to not only attend Nar-Anon meetings, but have something signed that they have a sponsor. the program is, realizes the benefits of recovery for the addict when the whole family is involved. And there was nothing wrong with it. It's a great program. I've met quite a few people in Nar-Anon who came as a result of that program. And it's really headed by a particular judge. And a couple of years ago, when they were going through an election process, this particular judge, there were some members who brought flyers to vote for this judge because of the program. And I just thought I'd throw that, which was clearly, breaking quite a few traditions. But during the time that this election thing was going on, there's always things on TV and ads and stuff like that. And some of the Nar-Anon members who were so happy that they were involved in that program, they didn't mention that they were Nar-Anon when they were on the commercial, but when they were in the Nar-Anon meeting, they were talking about being on that commercial for the judge. And so I just thought I'd tell that story because we mentioned here professionals being therapists and authors, and it's not limited to them. I was really shocked really to see this whole thing go on like that. I don't know that 2 years later now there's as much, interaction. But I just thought I'd put that out because it would include professionals that are within the court system, probation officers, that kind of stuff, police officers, judges, and so forth. We are self-supporting, so we get our experience, strength, and hope from one Nar-Anon helping another. Thank you.
Yeah, hello, my name's David. Wow. This one's loaded. And I think Marie's laughing. Melissa, but because this one is loaded with so many different elements to it. One of the things that I did here real quickly in the background was I tried to get a couple of definitions of professional, and part of the definition of professional or expectation around a professional is that they will behave in accordance to a code of conduct, if you will. Think of lawyers, doctors, that sort of thing. And I think the other element that I saw in the definition of professional is that this is the means by which that person earns a living. So right away, I would be skeptical of any professional who would be willing to accept this type of an invitation. Because what's their motivation? So, and I have attended meetings. I'm a home group member of this one meeting where we had a professional offer her services to come and speak, and we declined, because of the 10 tradition and several others, as Lois was pointing out. However, if you want to have a non-Nar-Anon related event, and you want people who, I can attend whatever events or participate in whatever organizations that I want to participate in, but I do so as an individual, not as a member of Nar-Anon. So, if I want to go do something with the Boy Scouts, I'll go do something with the Boy Scouts. If I want to do something with my church, I don't have a church, but if I wanted to, I could do that, but I wouldn't want to mix the two. And for meetings that are struggling with this, and in particular, the meeting that was highlighted in Nevada, that screams that we need to have a group conscience, and we need to invite whatever higher power we have into this discussion and say, hey, wait a minute, what is it that we as an organization are trying to achieve? Now, if a legal entity sends somebody to our organization, that's, maybe it's a conversation with that legal entity. Hey, you can suggest this, but you can't require this. Or maybe when they arrive on our doors, you're welcome, but the only requirement for membership here is to have a friend or a relative who's struggling or affected by the illness of addiction. Your issues with the court system are your issues with the court system. So I would just this one is very dicey, and as everybody has shared, I would be staying very far away from it. So because if I don't, it affects my ability to recover, and it affects other people's ability to recover. It may even affect their willingness to participate. So I think that's enough. So thanks, I'm David.
Next up is Tony M. from Nevada.
Hi, thanks. I'm going to just go again. I'll try to keep it short. Like it's been mentioned, all the traditions apply, absolutely 100%. And I love how the question was worded because it's loaded and we have great discussion. But I do want to just point out tradition one, our common welfare coming first. And what is our common welfare? Personal progress for the greatest number depends on unity. And my common welfare is recovery. And so, yeah, I came into the rooms because of the disease of addiction, but my welfare doesn't depend on the disease of addiction. It depends on my recovery. And then the second thing is, for our group purposes, there is but one authority. It's not a professional anybody. And it's not any person. It's a loving God who expressed himself in our group conscience. And then the last thing it says, because I have a tendency to put in, kind of a hierarchy. It's a human nature. It's in my genetics. It's how I was raised, that our leaders are but trusted servants. They do not govern. And I can tell you my experience has been that if there's somebody that has a position in Nar-Anon, I want to tend to think of them as kind of the professional. And, like has been pointed out, we have equal seats in the meetings. Whether you've got 1 day of recovery or you've got 100 years of recovery, the chairs are equal. And that's a huge exaggeration, obviously, but I have the tendency, I take what I like and leave the rest, and I can learn much from both those with 1 day of recovery, and I can learn much from that with has a whole bunch of recovery. But it's on me not to put them in a position to govern or to look at them. They may not even be governing, but just by what they're sharing about their own experience. And I'm taking that and say, oh yeah, I've got to do that too. Nobody's my higher power. Higher power for me will use people, but in Nar-Anon, we have a service structure that's supposed to be, upside down. I really thought that the director of Nar-Anon had some kind of was kind of like a police or, was like, somebody that could call the shots on groups and stuff. That's really how I thought when I came in, because that's the high, there's a fire chief, a police chief, there's the chief surgeon there, in my own being, I've got this way of, having a hierarchy. And so I just wanted to call that out. Thanks for letting me share.